started then, and just Margot, are you able to hear me?
I am.
Okay, great. Good afternoon and welcome to this support session.
Thank you.
Hernandez, who is a member of the course team, and Barbara is actually a course participant, but she's also a scholar apprentice, so part of a team of people who are developing their skills to manage digital courses. Yes, in support of courses like the one I believe you are participating in currently.
Okay.
So you have got three of us, yes, and you have our undivided attention to help resolve any issues that you're having and just to provide support in any way that we can. So welcome and thank you for taking the time to join this session.
Oh, thank you. Wow. I'm getting everybody. Well, I guess it's just been a little difficult because I am got so much on my plate right now. But excuse me. And when I first found out about the course, I didn't think it was necessarily one-to-one match for what I do. I'm a digital inclusion fellow. It's part of a grant from NTEN, and we're charged with trying to push out digital literacy programs and trainings in the community. And so I thought it might be a match where we could actually use something similar to this with trying to galvanize different organizations, because there's three parts to digital inclusion. There's a computer device, there's the digital literacy, and then there's the broadband. And the thing that I'm pushing the most with what I do from the library standpoint is digital literacy. But I realize all three of those legs of the stool are very important. So with that, I was like trying to see how best to maybe develop some kind of project around how I could use what I'm doing to also promote STEM programs in the community.
Yeah.
And okay, go ahead.
No, I'm listening. I'm actively listening, trying to trying to understand what your need or question is specifically. But very
Okay.
interesting that you know the sort of issues you're describing.
So there's a steering committee in our city that was charged maybe 18 months ago with coming up with a playbook for how to roll out and how to, like they actually originally started with a big meeting with whoever is in this area, whether it be vendors, service providers, or other interested parties. And then they narrowed it down to just a select or a group of folks to kind of be a steering committee and come up with this playbook.
Yep.
Well, it's taken a while, and I think one of the problems the group that's responsible for doing the playbook has had is just really having the right structure to galvanize everybody. And so when I listened to one of the YouTube videos, I can't remember who
Yep.
actually it was, but one of the things she said was that collaboration and collective impact are not the same thing. Collective impact is taking it further and getting, gosh, what was the, I wish I could find my notes right now, but she may have a real good way of describing it, which is
So
exactly.
that must have been Dr. Caitlin Dooley,
Yes,
so
yes.
at the Georgia Department of Education. Where are you? May I ask where you're located? Are you in Georgia as well?
No, I'm in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Okay, got it. All right.
Hmm.
Um,
and the thing is that this organization is really struggling with it, with trying to come up with some kind of structure or be the backbone that helps everybody to tap in. And but at first I thought, wow, this would be perfect for what we're trying to do with the steering committee.
Yep.
But I decided I wish I had known what this was going to be about, and maybe pass that information on to the one who's responsible for doing this
Sure.
earlier, so he could have gotten in on his class. But I did send him some resources. So I decided to back off of that. That's too big for me and more than I can handle. So the thing that I really was thinking about using as my project, and I was trying to figure out if you guys thought this made sense, because like I said, we're kind of fish out of, I mean, as far as what you got, what you're talking about is STEM education. And what we're talking about is digital inclusion
Yep.
education.
Yep.
And we're primarily focused on adults. So, but one of the things that I have been doing with my program this year is trying to partner with as many other groups that could help fill in those other sides of the legs of the stool, the digital inclusion stool. One being a
Yep.
nonprofit that's doing some recycle drives to find laptops that can, and rather than going into the dump, they could be actually put back into commission. So we're partnering with them. We're trying to do drives within the library. I'm doing personal drives with my family and friends and everybody I know on Facebook, and collecting devices that they can refurbish for put to be used for um, further digital programs that we do. But one of the great things about what this partnership I have with this nonprofit is the nonprofit is actually also working with another company that's the one that's actually developed the operating system that they're using, which it's open source, looks a lot like Chromebook. And he has a kind of an internship he's doing with a couple of high schools where he's taking young people, young high school students, and he's using them to do the recycling and the refurbishing. As he's doing it, he's teaching them STEM skills. So I thought, wow, if we could maybe do something around just this portion of it, where
Right.
uh, where we're, I'm the digital um, literacy part of it. The other nonprofit is the one that's trying to recycle everything and get the drives. And then one of the people that they're partnering with, also has a STEM quote unquote curriculum where he's using high school students and teaching them, and they're doing the refurbishing to kind of put together some kind of structure around that. That could possibly be a way to include digital inclusion with STEM education. Does
Yep.
that make
Yep. Yep.
sense?
It certainly does. Just to clarify, so Juan and I are actually on the technical side of the course team. We're not subject matter experts in yes, collective impact or
Okay.
computer science education for that, yes, for that matter. The Wednesday discussion groups are the ones in which really you can interact with Khurram Hassan, Chris Sollers, and other experts in collective impact. Nevertheless, so this session is really intended to help people who have sort of technical issues, problems using Scholar. Yes, so having said that, I still want to take a stab at yes, giving you maybe some feedback, because this is an issue we've discussed with Quorum and the the substance holders, so the people who are actually active around collective impact in computer science education. So what it sounds like, obviously, that just we've designed the project to be to be as close to the real world as we can. So in the real world, we actually many of us involved with different kinds of initiatives around STEM education, around digital in general, apply for grants, right? So that's why
Hmm.
we thought it'd be an interesting approach to actually challenge people. Here's a request for proposals from an organization that of course does not exist. So you would be welcome to sort of complete your project, just make it as a kind of make-believe yes fairy tale around computer science, yes, computer science education. um, if you were thinking about that particular problem, yes, that would be one way to do it. um, and then you would get the benefit of looking at other people's projects and getting peer review feedback from other folks in the course. So that would be sort of option one. Option two, we actually have some, would be to stay connected to the community. We've got a lot of the updates, sort of you have Quorum Hassan walking you through the basic concepts of what is collective impact. So for example, what you described about what sounded to me like a collaborative initiative trying to get many stakeholders around the table, and it seems to be taking a long time and to be very complicated and not necessarily to be generating the kinds of outcomes that were sort of that initially brought people together. So you're looking at the resources of collective impact and that have been shared in the course, and looking at the updates in which you have these little videos where Quorum has these neat little explainers of the different concepts. You're welcome, and you're encouraged to use those for your own learning, and also to share with colleagues who might be more specifically working on those collaborative efforts who could benefit from these resources. And that would be a wonderful way to for you to gain something from the course. Yes. So those would be sort of two options. The other thing would be, well, if this, even though this is not directly relevant to your particular area of work, they're obviously connected, and yes, and it may be useful to think about, have you considered in working on digital inclusion, actually sort of practicing what you're preaching in a way, by using digital learning to actually help people connect with people. So working adults and engaging them, offering a digital course, yes, on a model similar to this one. Basically, if you're an adult, you're being affected by the digital transformation. We all know the robots are coming, the AI is coming, and yet you don't even have your mobile phone. It's not a smartphone. You don't have an internet connection either because you can't afford it, or your neighborhood doesn't have it.
Hmm.
Um, here's what. Just here are some resources. Here's a place. Would you be interested in learning more? Just so thinking about how you can use sort of education and training, to sort of spread the word on the work you're doing, and trying to reach both people who can advocate for the people who are not included yet in that digital transformation, as well as reaching the people on the receiving end of that. So those would be, we're hoping the course can also help stir people's thinking around how they could use digital learning in their own context, whatever the issues that they're working on. Um,
Okay.
so I don't know if that's, yeah, if that's if that's helpful at all. Um, but
Well, let me ask you this. I guess maybe I keep getting thrown with the word STEM because I always think of that as students, school.
yeah,
Are we not as, can we go broader than that? Because like I said, we are doing some things where I'm trying to do some follow-on training once they do classroom training. Then they
yeah,
come back and maybe do some online stuff. So are we using a broader category of STEM, or are we doing STEM where it relates to, school students? Because I guess that's where I'm
right,
like, these ideas I have, which one would really fit?
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's a good question. I think the assumption, there's nothing in the RFP that limits you to K through 12. So if you're talking about adult learners, I think that would be fine. that would actually fit nicely, and maybe for some, if you submit a project and it gets peer reviewed by people who are working in the K through 12, that will expand their horizons to think about, well, what happens to their kids once they leave school. Yes, so I think that would fit. That would actually be a nice fit, and I would personally love to see a project like that amongst the ones that are developed in the course.
Okay, okay. Um, Now, with the RFP, does it have a structure to kind of, because I mean, I'm just trying to figure out what are all the components I need to have. I
Yep.
guess I just got overwhelmed in the beginning with so many emails and stuff that I
Yep.
need a straightforward what I got to read and what
Yep.
what I got to respond to, and maybe a structure for putting together this project because
Yep.
I just
Yep.
feel a
Yep.
little overwhelmed with so much data coming at me.
That's fair enough. And we did try to limit it to one update per day. And let me give you the magic link that you can use to actually go through. Let me see where did my chat window go? So I'm gonna yes I've just pasted it in link um, in the chat window. So it's really long. It's a cgscholar.com. But if you click on that, you will
Wait a minute, where
see.
are you?
So in the go-to training control panel that usually shows up on the left-hand side of your screen, there are sort of different
Um,
panels. There's one
oh,
called
okay.
chat.
Okay.
All right. Let me see. Can you see hi, Marco?
I see.
So where it says there's a little panel called chat, and if you open that one up, if you click on the little triangle next to the word chat, it'll open up, and you should see a really long blue link, and then underneath that, it should say, if you're looking in the right place, it actually says, "Hi, Margot."
I am not finding it. Let's see. Let's see. Margot talking. Oh, chat. I see. Let's see. Juan Hernandez. Let me see. Let me go to the bottom. Hi, Margot. Okay, got you.
Okay. So right above that is a magic link that will take you to that will show you only the updates from the course team.
Okay.
All right. So that's one way to look at. So that's still a lot of stuff to look at. So I'm also going to give you let me see, the update that recaps all the other updates. All right.
Okay.
And that's the one that came at the end of week 1. So yeah, here. So what I would suggest is that so here I've just put in another link, and this is the week 1, day 5 update.
Okay. Wait a minute. I cannot get this thing to minimize so that I can. Oh shucks. There we go. Okay. Um, so I can copy these links somewhere.
Yep,
Let
yep.
me do this.
You should now
Okay.
be able to, there should be a window on your screen that actually shows Scholar, because I'm sharing my screen. Are you able to now
Yes, I
see
see
that?
that now.
Okay. Great. So this is the second link I gave you, which is the week 1, day 5 update. So that's the one that we pushed out last Friday, at the end of the first week of the course.
Okay.
So if you have if you have limited time, and I'm sure you do, yes, you can find everything you need to complete your project is in here. So there's a lot of stuff about help and and so so you can skip down to here to review any pending tasks for week 1. And you might want to print that one or just do it so you can refer to it. Yes.
Okay.
And so where it says review any pending tasks for week 1, basically, each day there was an update, and this has, here you can find the links to all of them. And this is where, so for example, if you would want to start the day one update, so let me open that one up. So here it's loading in Scholar. And it is kind of a different way. It's not as simple as, here's a reading assignment and then you get a quiz. Yes, you do have to, just um, the intent is, to get you thinking about thinking. Yes, and being very practical because ultimately you want to be able to respond to that RFP. Yes. So here is, and then here in the day one update, um, Quorum walks you through. You can watch this little video. These tend to be really short. Like this one is 1 minute and 12 seconds. So we're not
Pretty
trying.
sure
This
I
is not
watched
people
that one.
lecturing. Yeah. So this is not people sort of droning on or lecturing. Yes. Let me just reload that because yes. And then each update actually tells you what it contains. Whoops. Let me just jump back here. Um, each update has the same structure. So it tells you what you're going to do, what's in the update. Yes, what the point is, like why you should spend your precious time on this, what you're going to get out of it, and then what you actually have to do. Yes. So you can walk through just one step at a time. It's really designed that way. So you can go through it one step at a time if you get interrupted. These are supposed to be intended to be short tasks, so you can just bookmark it and go right back to it when you have time again. Yes,
Okay.
and this is where then you watch a little video. Then there's some follow-up questions. Yes, so this starts, the day one update is very basic. What's the definition of collective impact? Obviously, if we're going to work on it, we need to agree on what it means for everyone. Yes. So you have stuff that you can read, and then you have Co who sort of comes in and tells you, yes, who does a show and tell on each concept. Yes. So yes, you just work through it one step at a time. And that's the day one update. Yes. And then you can move on to the day two update. So that link of basically at the end of the first week, we did this day five update, which recapped everything that's come before. So from here, you can find everything you need. And in terms of the structure of your proposal, yes, if I go into, let me see if I can give you an example of, and there are people with very different sort of levels of experience and expertise. There are people with sort of two PhDs, yes, who've written really long and involved, proposals.
Yeah.
And yes,
And that's
and
not
there are
me.
other and there are other folks who are actually, yes, who've written short but really good, where you can feel that they know what they're talking about. They're doing work every day on these issues, and they're putting it down on paper. And we're finding that those are actually easier, sort of easier to understand, and they sort of are more compelling than some of the longer, more academic ones. Yes, just as an aside. Um, and let me see how. Yeah, so um, the structure. Let me pick out one of the.
Is there a way to
Let's
look
see.
at
Let's
others?
take. So you only get to look at the others. I'm going to show you one, but you only get to look at the others once you have submitted yours. Yes.
Oh,
So
okay.
that's the way it works. Yes. So if I look at yes, let me see. And this is kind of a secret peek because yes, we're not showing this. Yes, the principle is, you first do your end of the work. Yes, you take
Hmm.
responsibility for what you developed. You do the best job that you can, and then you get to see what other people have, what other folks have been doing. You learn from that, and then in week 4 of the course, you're going to go back to your draft, and you're going to rework it, improve it using what you've learned from the peer review and from So this is the person who's written about the context in Georgia. So yes, her work has 3 parts. Really follows closely yes what's in the RFP. Yes, part 1 is yes has sections for each part that corresponds to each part of the RFP, and you can see she doesn't have, it's not a thesis. It's got a couple of sentences for each, for each point, and if there are points where you're not sure, you can either just say so or just leave that one out, especially if you don't think it's actually important to telling your story, what you want to achieve, what actually matters. If you're talking to a donor, donors, they get they get organizations that have sort of tons of staff to just produce paper and proposals. But they can also, they also have, the good ones will have a BS detector, yes, and focusing on what's actually relevant and meaningful is likely to get you better results. So then this person has a part 2 showing the expected, really focusing on the result. Yes. So, and then the part 3 is actually, here's a backbone function. So what is an activity that's actually not, so you said, so sort of doing STEM education in schools and then supporting people to make sure that they're, as part of a digital inclusion strategy. So the backbone function part of that, from viewing Co's videos and sort of working on the course, again, I don't claim to be an expert, but it's like the things you do that are actually that are like the support functions. So it's like the admin stuff. It's going to be the measurement stuff. It's going to be, who actually facilitates the meetings that brings everybody around the table. Yes, and those support functions or enabling functions are actually really important, but they tend to get neglected because typically nobody, they sort of, their process, and people tend to be more, people tend to focus on outcomes, and that's legitimate. But what collective impact does is it's actually, well, if you want the outcome, you're going to have to invest in the process. So here you have to make the case, what is it about what you're describing, in order for it to work, for people to be able to get their job done, for the teachers teaching STEM to do their thing, for the people sort of advocating for digital inclusion, to be able to connect with the teachers, connect with people who need, who are not, who are across the digital divide. What kind of work is going to actually help people, help all those people connect to each other and get their work done? And that's, that can be very basic, mundane things. That can be, and that can be sort of sophisticated data analysis. Whatever it takes, your context. You're the one who's going to know what, how this stuff is likely to work. Yes. So very simple structure. Part 1, part 2, part 3. You can see she's actually written more than there are some, there's some shorter ones. Whatever it takes to get to get to focus on on what matters to you. And even though part 3 comes last, that's actually the most important. That's actually the one about the backbone function, and that is the focus of the course. So that's
Okay.
so of course, for somebody reading it, you have to, I don't know your context. You've told me a little bit about it. I would need enough in part 1 so that I understand what you're talking about, what the challenges are that you're facing, what it is exactly you're trying, what is the problem you're trying to solve, those things. And it sounds to me like you can make you already know how to explain what you do, and where you work.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just putting it down on paper. The part you're focusing on the results, that's kind of the same thing. It's like how, just at the end of the day, what is it? How is what you're doing? What difference is it going to make? And just being very clear and specific about what that result is. Yes. And then part 3, in order to get towards that result, are there sort of enabling functions? Are there things, support services that are needed that are not that are not necessarily the the sort of the fancy front and center stuff that gets the attention and so on. But if nobody does that, these backbone functions, these enabling functions, then all of the fancy stuff falls apart. Yes. So it's what is that, and then saying, well, this is important enough that we actually need funding for this backbone function. Um, that's kind of how I would explain it. And then what you're going to do, as you work, you can look in here as you work in Creator. So yes, if you follow the updates, you'll see there's a video that explains how you get started. So this part of Scholar is actually called Creator, and so you'll need to accept. You'll find a notification up here that actually allows you to create, to sort of start your Creator project.
Okay, I actually created me a Scholar. I have a Scholar account, so when I do the Creator, start a project, that has all the structure in there.
No, you have to. Yes, you actually have. So you if you view there's like a 3-minute tutorial, and I'm gonna ask. Let me see if yeah, let me see if I can ask Juan, because he actually recorded the tutorials for this process. So he's the best person to respond to you. I don't know if he seems to be muted. Juan, can you hear me? And
yes, I'm here.
Great.
Hello, Margot.
Hi.
Hello, Reda.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
So yeah, just is there? Do you think so? I'm afraid I've already given you a lot of information, Marco. So I don't want to overwhelm you or discourage you. Yes, and that's why I thought, Juan, Juan put a lot of time into building these short video tutorials that really show step by step what you need to do to sort of get up to speed, set up your Creator project and all that. So I thought maybe, Juan, you could help, so just sort of, give Margot the Cliff's Notes just to actually setting up her project and getting started in Creator.
Okay. Yes, I can do this. However, the computer I'm on right now is one that I use for communication. So I'm not able to share my screen and locate the information right away. But if you give me a couple of minutes, I'll be right back with the links is what I suppose I could offer you, right?
Okay.
Okay. So I'm gonna mute myself for a second and start looking for the links, and I'll be right back.
Mm-hmm.
Great, thanks, Juan. And Barbara, let me unmute you. I think there's some background noise. So Barbara is is an amazing lady who's been incredibly active in the Collective Impact course community, and she's also she's also successfully completed other Scholar courses. It sounds like you have a feedback issue where your microphone is picking up the noise from your speakers, Barbara. Would you be able to offer what would be your advice to Margot on how to how to really focus on bottom line what she needs to do to progress in the course and get as much from it as possible that can be helpful to her, and without sort of drowning in information.
You can compliment on one hand, and then you're very truthful on the other hand. Margot, I have a tendency to drown in information. Actually, I provided back to one of the people that I was reviewing today that had hardly anything on it, but there was enough that gave me an idea of part of what they were doing, exactly as you said. And one of the things I suggested was to go into Scholar and in the collective impact course, go ahead and go to updates. If you know how to highlight that updates as opposed to activities or profile or whatever, click on the updates and then go into selecting admin. And then you'll see all of those guides that Retta's talking about. And if you haven't looked at those, and it really synthesizes out a lot of all of the messages that you referred to that you were getting. But it gives you those really good guidelines on how to start from the beginning. So you could scroll down to the bottom and just follow them up, and it would do it. In fact, that's exactly what I advised this one person to do, because there were a lot of things in those messages that he needed help on. And per the question you asked, that I think that would be real helpful, because you could see all of the different things.
Okay.
No.
I guess I'm
So
also.
that would be. Yeah, go ahead, Marco.
I said, I guess I'm just trying to figure out if once I get into creating my, I guess it's called creating my project, will it give me part one and then all the pieces under part one that I need to fill out?
Not quite. You can get that by going to the in the updates. You'll find referenced the actual RFP. But to save you a little bit of time, let me actually share my screen again and give you the let me see. So show my screen. Let me go back now to so over here in Scholar, when you're looking at the collective impact community, and you know you're in the right place when you see this icon. All right, in Scholar, down here you have the shares, and so the shares have resources or readings and articles and videos and other things that have been shared either by the course team or by the course participants. The idea is that everyone is invited to actively contribute to the course. This is not about some expert on a pedestal or from an ivory tower, lecturing about collective impact. This is everybody can join, everybody can contribute. Here is the National Backbone Foundation request for proposals. So that's your structure. Let me just put that into the chat. So if you go back in the GoTo Training Control panel and you look again for that little chat window, you'll see there's another link I've just posted for you.
Okay.
And if you click on that, let me just show you what it actually looks like when you open it up. So it's actually taking a bit of time to open. Yeah, here we go. So when I open this up now, here, okay, so it's probably a little bit small to see, right? So this actually describes the structure. Yes, your proposal should include 3 parts. Part 1 is the context. You tell us about your background. You describe what, if anything, is happening with collective impact. Part 2 is your results, and this can be one sentence. We want by 2020 every child in the state or every adult in the state to be connected to a fiber connection and be fully empowered and educated to use that fiber connection to its fullest potential. I'm a dreamer, so that would be the results. That would be my results if I were in your shoes.
Okay.
But you will probably have something more realistic than that. And then you have to explain why is this. Just to say, okay, if this is the result you want, you have to justify why that's something important. Part 3 is really
I think
then
this is what I've been
what I would
looking for, and I didn't realize that that was there. Okay.
Right. So the way you find that is when you look at the updates. Yes, when you go into the updates, there's a lot of links. Yes, So you have to pay attention to the links, and many people do not. They're looking for things that are like a different color or like images, and to click on those. But the way we do these updates is there's a lot of useful stuff you can get through by clicking on these little blue links. They're not even underlined. So like in here, if you want to review the full creator project assignment, that's what I just showed you. We include a lot of backlinks, so stuff that's been covered before. We sort of repeat it, so that the hope is that at some point, folks are going to find it. Yes. So that's the full creator project assignment. That's the RFP itself, and then there's also what we're calling the evaluation rubric, and that's also that's sort of once you've drafted something, you can use this to help you figure out, and these are like guiding questions, so you can self-assess what you've done. Yes. So, is your proposal clear, concise, well organized? Well, when you go into peer review, there's other folks who are going to be making judgments or helping you with that. But you can also ask yourself the question and be sort of candid, honest with yourself. Yes. Is this sort of clear? Is it going to make sense to somebody else? Yes. So that's the sort of overall one for all three parts, and then there are really specific questions for each part. So this is like, if this were the real world grant process, first you get the RFP, and usually you don't get to see how the jury or the evaluators who are reviewing your proposal, how they do it. So we're actually showing you what happens typically backstage. Yes, we give you the review criteria so you can self-assess your project. And this is the whole point of all of this, is to get you thinking about what you're doing. This is not about memorizing the definition of collective impact. It's actually thinking through, and it sounds to me like you've already been doing this. So that's actually just, how is this helpful to me? How can I put this to use to do my work better, to help get to the result, to get to the, help progress the work I'm doing and help others progress. Yes, and that's precisely what we're trying to do with the course.
Okay. Okay. I think I might have had what I needed. I just didn't know I had it.
All right. Barbara, do you remember your first days in the in the Digital Scholar course, in the first Scholar course that you took? How did you sort of emerge from feeling overwhelmed and maybe even confused or lost, to actually coming out to a point where you said, okay, I'm pulling these pieces together. I'm actually doing my project, and I believe you submitted. You did. you did it.
I did, yes. I just kept clicking on things till it worked. I think you might have even had to straighten up some of my stuff at one point, but
and what would you advise for someone who had sort of limited time? Because I think one of the things that may have helped you is, yes, well, I don't know if that's true, but yes, what would you advise sort of a busy professional who's already got a full-time job, who's probably got a family and life yes, outside of work? What would be your suggestion on how to how folks can organize their time and make sure they sort of fit this in on top of everything else they have to get done?
I think the guidelines that you've already talked about, where the updates have, regardless of the courses, the updates have walked you through it. So if you go with the current update and stick to that one and sort of do what is suggested to be done before you move on to anything else, that would work. Allot whatever time you can on the day that you're going to sit down to do it, and stick with it for that update, even if you don't finish all of it at that time. And then move on. So allot you some time and follow the update guidance. I think that's sort of what I wound up doing, is I'd read through it and then I'd get in and try to do it, and maybe it didn't work. So I'd make myself slow down and go back and read the update as it was there. And initially test it. Sort of trial and error did help with me.
Okay, I remember you, Barbara, saying something about going into Scholar, going to updates. I'm trying to find that. I'm trying to follow that structure you
Oh,
told me.
I
Uh,
could I would be ready to show you my screen and walk you through that question.
okay.
Great.
First thing is when you arrive, when you just sign in, you will be in your personal profile. This is my photograph. Yours will appear here, and where I'm showing you in this orange bar, your name should appear. You may know that by now. Then you would go into the community um,
Okay.
and click under your communities. And when you recognize the logo, you can um, go to filter activity. This blue menu on your right that I'm
Mhm.
pointing at, this would, oh, excuse me, before you do this, you would click on updates, collective impact updates right here. Because
Okay.
otherwise you go into the activity stream, which shows you all the activity in the community. So the first thing is go to updates. Once you've selected updates, then you can filter like I'm showing here on the screen, and you can filter. You have the option of seeing all the updates posted so far, including those by admins and those by non-admins. So to get a summary of all the activity, you would go to admins, and um, you will find all the updates to date. Um, Last week's update number 5, week number 2, has a summary of all the activity that you would have to do to this point. Um, I would choose this as a starting point because there you will find the whole summary. Let me open it for you. Here is everything you need to know to have in part 1 of your creator. You will find the links to the description of each part. You'll also find the RFP that Reda just showed you, together with the evaluation rubric, and the structure. So this is pretty straightforward at this point. Does this answer your question, Margaret?
Yes. Yes. Whew.
So just Juan, just
Would
to
you like me
note
to
is
go
that
over it?
the update that actually contains all of the that sort of walks you through the entire process came at the end of week 1. Yes. So it's the week 1, day 5 update,
Week
and
one.
I've shared the link with Margot there. So,
Okay.
but Margot, what you can retain from what Juan just showed you is just that by looking at just the updates from a course team, that makes a lot of less updates to look at, and each one of them is useful. Just take your time, read through the one that step by step, follow the instructions. Make sure you've set aside time to do so, because obviously you're going to have a little catching up to do. But it's far from impossible. And again, we're showing you the sort of shorthand. Just cutting to the chase. What do you need to get done in order to to finish? And that's working your way through the RFP, accepting the notification to start your creator project, and then you just fire away right away. Just you start writing up for each part. You write something for each part. If you get stuck, you can go look at the updates because we have all of these little videos and these a lot of examples, a lot of resources you can look at to help you along. And once you've got that creator project ready, you submit it. and then you'll go into peer review. So that's where you get to look at the works of other folks in the course and give them your feedback. You're actually going to get to help them. They've been struggling maybe with some of the same issues you have, so you'll get to see how they've done it, compare with what you did, and maybe you have ideas you can share with them to give them some constructive criticism.
Okay, so the bottom line is I need to go through week 1, day 5 first, and then week 2, day 5.
Yep, what we do, those end of week updates, so day 5 is Friday, and those Friday updates, we try to recap what actually happened that was really important that week that people need to pay attention to.
Okay.
So that's spot on. That's exactly it.
All right, well, that's what I know I've done some of week 1. I just couldn't figure out where I was, so let me start. And like I said, the other problem was trying to figure out if the project that I was going to put together made sense for what you guys were doing.
So I actually work mostly with adult learners too, and I kind of think that's I mean, people talk now about lifelong learning, so I think it'd be really good to have that perspective in the course, saying, look, yeah, kids, I mean, what's at stake with computer science education or digital inclusion, it doesn't stop, when people turn 18, and everybody knows that. But yes, so would love to see that proposal, and do just we sort of offered in every a lot of updates. We told people, if you've got a problem, if you're struggling, you're kind of lost, just send us an email. And I think this is a crowd of like working professionals, so so I think it's kind of hard to reach out to folks, to reach out to the course team and say, look, I'm actually having a difficulty here, can you help me? So I think it's very commendable that you came to us, and I just wish more of your peers would have that would take that same step, because we're really here to help. And as you can see, there's a lot of people that we haven't been hearing from, and we know some of them just get overwhelmed, some of them whatever it is, we're here to help.
Well, thank you. Yeah, one of my cohorts is the one that encouraged me, don't quit, don't quit. And I was like, after week 1, I was like, oh man, this is too much. So I'm glad I listened to you guys on the call that said, go ahead and set up the Monday thing. Although I felt guilty because I didn't do Friday. I still wasn't quite clear Friday. And I said, oh, that's the deadline, and oh, what's going to happen if I don't do this by Friday? So.
Right. All right. Well, don't hesitate to shoot us an email if you have more questions or if you get stuck. Yes. But the last piece of advice that we usually give is really, well, just and it's probably the most important one. Look at your calendar. Yes. You know what you've got in your schedule. When are you actually going to block down time where you can work on the course, and you're not going to have colleagues or kids or partners that are barging in, interrupting you, where you can have some quiet time. And what I can tell you is, we really believe in this course, and Coram and Caitlin, who are leading the course, who have invested so much time and energy putting this together for you and the other participants, and they really want you to get something out of this that you can use to make a difference in your work. They're thinking about the kids and the kids growing into adults, and the kind of future that they have in this digital society that we live in now. And there's, and there, so I hope that commitment, that you can feel that, just that's going into the course, and that will inspire you and motivate you, so you can share your experience and inspire and motivate us. Yes, so that's really what we're hoping will will happen through this course, and that's quite ambitious. Yes, but we've seen it work for other courses like this, and it's amazing to be part of it. And we sort of end up feeling, wishing more people, would just make that extra effort to stick it out and get the benefit from it.
All right, thank you. I appreciate it. I'm gonna try.
So wishing you well, Margot. Thank you very much. Yeah.
All right.
Bye, everyone.
All right. Bye-bye. Appreciate it.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.